Hey, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing a concept called refactoring. So what I want to do is I basically want to talk about how we can actually use refactoring in our existing code, how we can actually use it to basically make our code more scalable, maintainable, and the benefits alongside a practical example. So before we get into that, I just want to discuss what actually refactoring is. So refactoring allows us to basically clean up our code. So what does this mean? So let's say, for example, if you have a function that's really big, or you have a view controller or a view in SwiftUI which is really large, you can actually refactor and make it more clean and more reusable, so you can basically scale it and test certain parts of your application. Also, as well, it's important to note that refactoring doesn't only include code as well. Refactoring could also mean, improving the documentation within your application. So when people come across your code base, they can easily grasp the concept and pick on those ideas as well too. But another benefit of refactoring is essentially allows you to also improve readability. So talking about the concept of documentation, if you basically have code that makes sense, so if you have functions or variables or logic that's clear and you don't really need to comment it, then that's something that you should always aim for. And that's one of the things that refactoring is really good for as well. And then finally, as well, like I said before, refactoring also is making sure that your code is maintainable and scalable as well. So we want to make sure that when we write code, we can actually, add bits to it without the whole thing falling over. And that's something that we're actually going to look into with the example that I'm actually going to refactor. And I'm going to discuss my thought process throughout it as well. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at our onboarding app, and I'll leave a link at the top if you've not done this video yet. I'm actually going to see how we can refactor it and how we can improve the code. So let's jump straight into the video and see how we can tackle this issue. So as you can see here, I basically got the onboarding app that I discussed in the video before, and you can see that everything looks fine. So it all works, well. But the issue that we have is it's not very scalable. So what do I mean by that? So currently right now, if we actually look at the way that we built this, if I just go into the plist file, we've done it where you can actually only enter in an SF symbol. But what about if I'm someone who I don't want to use an FF symbol, I want to use an asset that someone's given to me? A designer might have given me a, JPEG, PNG, or even a PDF or SVG or whatever that may be. I can't use that because this only accepts SF symbols. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to actually refactor this to actually make this more scalable, so it can accept both SF symbols and assets from the assets catalog. Also, as well, we will look at where we can actually reduce code. So because we're actually, working with a plist at the moment, it begs the question that do we actually need this plist? Maybe we could actually just manage this content ourselves in code. And also as well, by doing that, it will help us actually reduce the lines of code that we have in our code base, and it'll also as well make our code more readable and understandable, so there isn't too many lines of code that are not unnecessary. One final point I want to make as well before we start is that it's also very important to note that, like, the way we've done it now, it is possible that if someone wasn't aware, they could actually misspell these keys. And if they were to misspell one of these keys, then essentially the whole app would basically just not, work. So there will be a bug introduced. So what we want to do as well is we actually want to make our onboarding more type safe, so we can minimize the amount of mistakes someone can make when actually setting up this onboarding and changing it and updating it in the future. So that falls into the bracket of us making this scalable and maintainable. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically look at first how we can actually move our model from our plist into our onboarding manager, so we can actually start to reduce some code here. So since we want to actually, work with our model, we might as well put in the steps now to actually make our model more scalable, where it accepts assets and SF symbols. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically create a new file, and I'm just going to call this asset. And the whole point of this asset is to basically hold the name of the asset and the type of the asset as well, so you can configure what type it is that you want to set up. So I'm just going to basically set up an enum of type. So I'm going to call this asset, and then it's going to basically have two cases. Cool. So we basically got our two cases. So the first case we have is for our SF symbol, and the next case we have is for anything that's within our XC asset. So we can declare the differences between the two. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to set up a struct so we can actually define the name and the type of asset. So let's do that now. Cool. So now we've actually got two named the same, so it's obviously going to complain. So in this case, it makes more sense for the struct to be the asset, since that's the object's going to hold all the information about the asset. And rather than us calling this enum asset, we're going to call it asset type. And I'm just going to refactor this type to be asset type as well. Cool. So now we have our model. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually just remove some code. So like I said before, that because we're not using this plist anymore, we're actually safe to delete the plist manager file. So let's just right click on this and let's delete this file. And then we're just going to move this to trash. And what it should do now is it should complain about how it's missing certain things. So let's just replace those where it needs it. So I'm going to delete it from the content view because obviously we don't need it here no more, so that can go now. And then I'm also going to delete it from the content manager implementation, so I'm going to delete that there. And then I'm going to go into my implementation for my content manager and delete this initializer. And then I'm also going to delete the parameter in the initializer here. And I'm actually going to delete the whole initializer because we don't actually need that anymore. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change items. So what we're going to do is we're going to literally have like a hard-coded static array of items. So we don't really need a plist anymore to manage this. We're just going to do it in code. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this into a constant so no one can actually change that value. And then for now, I'm just going to define an empty array. And we'll come back to this and clean it up and actually add in our content. But for now, I'm just going to define it like so. So we're going to go to this file here, the screen view, and it's asking for this implementation. We obviously don't need this anymore. So let's remove this. All right, cool. Let's build the project. All right, sweet. So now what we need to do is we actually need to define our static content here, the asset type that we just created. So the struct. So let's jump into our onboarding item. And inside of here, what we're going to do is, because this doesn't get decoded anymore, because we're not using the plist decoder to actually decode it from a plist, we're going to basically remove any traces of codable because we don't actually need that anymore. So let's remove this codable here. And we're going to remove the coding keys. And we're also going to remove the initializer, so because we don't need that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new property for our asset for the model, so we can define an asset type whenever we build an onboarding item. All right, cool. And now, because we're not using the codable anymore, these currently are all bars. Now, what this essentially would mean is that someone could actually change these properties if they want to. Now, because we want this to be static content, we don't actually want anyone to be able to change any of these properties. We just want them to basically be locked down. So what we're going to do is we're going to change all these to constants. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, cool. Build that. All right, sweet. So now that we've got our model the way that we want it to be, and what we need to do now essentially is actually update our array with our model. So I'm just going to do that now. So what we've now got is our array of onboarding items, and if you can see the structure of it, we've now basically declared this. If I just basically open up the plist so you can just compare it. So we now basically took all the values from our plist and essentially just hard-coding it inside of an array. But we notice on the last type here, we've actually defined that we want the type to be an XC asset and the name of that is stars. Now, this is something that I downloaded from FlatIcon. And if we just go into the XC assets, it's basically this asset here, which is an SVG file. So this now allows us to basically mix and match SF symbols and XC assets as well. So now that we've declared our array of onboarding items, we don't really need that plist anymore. So what we can do is we can actually delete this file from the project. All right, cool. And I'm just going to build it to make sure that it's okay. All right, sweet. So now we've got that working, which is good. So now what we need to do is essentially we need to actually update our view, because if we look at our view now, if you currently look at our view now, we're actually currently using this property here called SF symbol, which technically we don't actually need anymore. So because we don't need this SF symbol, we're actually going to use the assets property now. let's just go into our model and we're just going to remove this because we don't need it. Okay, cool. So now it should complain, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically replace this with a extension. So we're going to use a computer property and an extension on asset to basically give us either the SF symbol or the XE asset. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, comment this out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the asset file here. And inside of here, I'm going to create an extension on the asset struct. And it's going to basically have a computer property, which essentially gives us the right content. So let's do that now. All right, cool. So you may be wondering, why have I created an extension on asset to do this? Well, essentially, I kind of want all of the logic in terms of like it figuring out which one to be used in an extension and grouped with the asset. So I want to basically extend the functionality on asset. And rather than me creating a brand new view model, it would just be nicer just to have this extension here. So what we've done here is we basically created a computer property called content, which has some view. So what we're essentially saying here is we're going to basically return some kind of view. That some kind of view could be a text, a button, text field, whatever it is. But in our case, we're going to basically return some kind of image. All right, cool. So now we've basically added this in. So let's just break it down. So essentially what we're saying here is if the type is an SF symbol, then we want to basically use an image, and we're going to basically use the name to basically get an SF symbol, apply some padding, and change the font to the size that we want for our design. And what we'll also say here is we've basically got an SC asset. So we're going to put that XC asset inside of a VStack. And so that asset is going to basically have a spacer which pushes it down. We're also going to have an image where we pass in the name for the asset and the XC asset, make it resizable, scale it to fit, set some frame size and some padding on the bottom of that image so it looks like it would with design. We can't use the font on our image because it's not an SF symbol, so we actually have to manually give it a frame and do all that kind of stuff. But if you look at what our property, computer property is saying here, it's basically complaining, saying that it cannot return a type because we've not used a return in the body statement. So essentially the reason why it's doing this is because we're using a conditional inside of this computed property here. So the compiler doesn't know which one it should use because it's a conditional. So what we need to do is we essentially need to tell the compiler that this computer property could accept one or more views. And one way for us to actually do this is by using an annotation called view builder. So if we actually add the annotation view builder on here, so what we're going to do now is, because we've defined our computer property that gets the content from our asset, we're going to basically call and use this property in our SwiftUI code. So let's go back to our onboarding view. And rather than us using this, we're going to basically now say item.asset.content. So now we're going to just return the content for the asset in line with this. And because we don't need this code anymore, we're going to basically delete this so we can obviously keep our code clean. And we're going to build this, and we're just going to fix this error here. So obviously we removed that SF symbol property before, so we don't actually need that anymore. So let's just delete that. Cool. Let's build it. All right, cool. So now it all builds. All right, sweet. So what we're going to do now is we've actually refactored all our code, and as you can see, the thought process in terms of me doing this, I was basically thinking which areas could I improve that aren't scalable, which areas do I not actually need anymore because I'm making these changes, and where can we make our code more maintainable so it doesn't fall over when we build on top of it. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to test this out to see it in action. So if I just go to my content view, and if I just resume this now, cool. So now it's loaded. You can see that it basically looks the exact same as it did before. We have all our content in. We have the support, and when we go to the last screen, you can now see that we're able to actually show our asset from our, assets folder, so the stars. So now if someone wants to come along and add in an asset from XC assets, or they want to use SF symbols, they can easily do it by simply just updating this array here and specifying what type it is and the name of the asset. So now we've made this scalable, maintainable, and basically reusable. We've spoken a lot about the benefits of refactoring, but refactoring all the time sometimes actually isn't needed. So when may it not be beneficial to actually refactor? Well, essentially, let's say, for example, if you're working on a project that lacks documentation, tests, or even requirements, well, it may not be the best idea to just go in and refactor everything. And the reason why that is because you got to understand that, like, if you make a change to an area of the application and you're actually not sure how that should work, then you may introduce more bugs. So the best advice I give you is, if you are in a situation where you do need to refactor a code base or you need to tackle refactoring, it may be worth seeing if you can kind of get this information beforehand and basically make sure that the code that you write doesn't affect the existing functionality and it doesn't cause any more regressions. Alternatively as well, rather than tackling it as a big job, why not just do it in smaller increments? So do smaller refactors in smaller places, add in more smaller unit tests as well, and then incrementally over time, just rebuild the code base. And that way you won't have like a big task where something does fall over. So this video was a bit different in terms of me tackling more of a programming topic. So if you enjoy videos like this, I'd really appreciate your feedback and love to hear back from you in the comment section below. Also as well, if you like this video, I'd appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for updates whenever you can. That's everything from me. I'll catch you all in a bit. Deuces.